Hi guys, it's Meridy here with Not Just for Boys Kit Club, and today I am showing you how to put together the layout that is called Wild Adventures. So first I'm going to show you what you're going to get in the kit, and you are going to get one stencil that has these different tropical leaves on it. Okay, it's a 6x6 stencil. You're going to get one Echo Park Little Explorer sticker sheet, 12x12 sticker sheet. You're going to get two jars of inklings. One is called Emerald City, and this is Creamies, and this one is called Sage It Isn't So. And as you could tell, they're two different shades of green, and you add water to these to activate them. So you get both of those. And then the following papers, these are all from the Little Explorer line. This one is called Wild About You Plaid. This one is called Welcome to the Jungle. This one is called 4x4 journaling cards. Okay, this one is just plain cardstock, different colored on each side. This is called Wild and Free. And then two sheets of smooth white cardstock. So the first thing, you're also going to have a sheet of instructions in your kit. And on the back of your instruction sheet, it is going to tell you how to cut these papers in all the dimensions that you're going to need to cut them. I will say, when you're cutting this sheet, you're gonna cut a strip either this direction or this direction, okay, to use this side. So I would cut whatever three in a row, either that direction or this direction, are your least favorite three. So when I cut it, I cut out these middle three right here, and I just kept it one long 12x4 strip, and I didn't care about using these three 4x4 cards, because I kind of liked the Let's Explore and Hakuna Matata and Wild and Cute. Like, I liked these, and the top ones and the bottom ones a lot better than the middle ones, but you could even pick a column. Whatever three set of journaling cards you like the least, use that for your cuts. That's going to show this paper. It'll make sense when you see on your directions, but I just wanted to explain that. Alrighty guys, I'm gonna go cut my papers and I will be right back. Alrighty guys, I'm back, and I just wanted to jump in here and explain something really quick. You'll have this sheet of paper that you did not cut, and it is because if you do not want to do the stencil work the way that I'm gonna show you, you can fussy cut some of these leaves instead. So we put this piece of paper in here for those of you that do not want to do the watercoloring on your layout. So that's what this paper's for. And if you do the watercoloring on your layout, you'll have this piece of paper. You can still fussy cut a few of these and add them in your layout, or you can make another page with this. So I just wanted to explain that's why we didn't cut this sheet down yet. All right, and then you have this sheet of paper and your two solid sheets of white. These are gonna be the background of your layout, but we're not gonna use them quite yet. First, we're gonna go over matting our photos. So I put 11 photos on this layout, which is a lot. So my photos, I printed them all at 4 inches by 3 inches, and then I trimmed a little bit off of two sides. I trimmed about 1/4 inch off two sides. So really these photos are 3 3/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. And that is because they will be so much easier to mat on this sheet of paper by cutting this paper evenly and nicely. So I've got a few photos that stay 4 by 3 inches, but then there's a few photos that I cut down even smaller. For instance, this photo right here is really trimmed down to a 3 by 3. And then another one I trimmed down to be 2 inches by 3 inches, just because it looked nice with a couple of them just being not quite the whole 3 by 4 inch photo. This one is, again, I'm gonna trim it down to 3 by 3. It's just a little variety, especially when I've got 11 photos on my layout. They take up lots of space. So we've got a couple photos trimmed down a little smaller with stuff cropped out that you can crop out. And then you're gonna take this paper and you're gonna cut it into 3 by 4 rectangles. And I am just gonna cut the whole entire paper into exactly 3 inch by 4 inch rectangles. So I'm gonna be able to get 12 3 inch by 4 inch rectangles out of this paper, which is perfect because we have 11 pictures, and there's gonna be 12 mats here, so we'll have an extra one. So you could even fit 12 pictures on this if you wanted to. Or maybe you have 4x6 pictures and not 3x4 pictures, and you can cut this sheet into 6 4" by 6" mats, like nice and evenly. That's why I like trimming down my pictures a little, just so it's so much easier to just cut whole numbers as my mats, like 3x4 or 4x6, instead of trying to cut like 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. It's just too much. So this is very easy. So we are gonna go ahead and cut that all down, and then you can decide if you wanna mount your pictures on this side, if you wanna mount your pictures on this side, if you wanna mount half of your photos on this color and the other half on this color. You can decide how you want to do that. I'm just gonna go ahead and mount all my pictures on the green side because that is easy for me. And then of course on these pictures that you trimmed smaller, you're just gonna trim off the excess mat and you'll have this scrap of paper to use as you want. But I'm gonna go ahead and mat all these pictures and I will be right back. All right, and just like I said, I have one little piece left over and we'll just put that off to the side. Okay, so we've got all of these pictures. Now what we're gonna do next is take all of these thin pieces of paper that you cut. Let me get all my papers over here so this is easier to arrange. All of these thin strips of paper that you cut, there's gonna be 12 of them altogether. And we're going to cut a notch in one end of each paper. And since none of these papers have, you know, a right side up or an upside down, like none of them have text on them, it doesn't matter which end you notch. We're just gonna pick an end and notch it. And the way that I notched it is I put it in my paper trimmer and cut a tiny little slit 1 inch over. And then you can use your paper trimmer or scissors to cut from that corner to the top of the slit. And then the same thing on this other notch. So that's a real easy to make a fairly even banner notch on a piece of paper. And then rather than doing this over and over with every single strip of paper, I'm gonna use this as my template and I'm gonna cut the rest of them just with scissors. It's just simple to me. So I'm just gonna put it right on top, line it up, and cut with scissors. Okay, so I'm gonna do that for every single banner, but only on one end of each banner. I'm not gonna do both ends. I mean, banner, what are these called? Strips, like one end of each of these strips. I'm not gonna do both ends. So I will go off camera to finish trimming the rest of my little strips of paper. And I will be right back when I finish the rest of them. All right, so I've got all of these notched. And next I'm going to take an ink pad and I'm going to ink the edges of all of these. And the ink pad color that I'm going to use is called Vintage Photo. So I'm using my Distress Oxide Vintage Photo ink, but you can use any like brownish, orangey, goldenrod color. You could use the sagey green color. You could use like a wilderness green, deep green color. You can use any color that's in your photos. You could even use black or gray ink. I think any of those things would match because there's so many earth tone colors in this layout that you can ink the edges just about any color and they're gonna pop. So I'm gonna go ahead and ink all of the edges of all of these little papers that we notched. And I'm gonna go off camera to finish that up and I will be right back. Alrighty guys, I've got all of these edges inked and all of these pictures here. And the next thing we're gonna do, this is gonna be a little strange feeling possibly for you. We are going to get our 2 sheets of white paper and we're going to start laying everything out on here, but we are not going to adhere anything down at all to our layout, actually for a really long time, because we're gonna do some paint and stencil work first. But we need to get everything laid out, and actually we're going to, sorry, I'm getting sidetracked here. We're gonna actually adhere these chunks together that we're working with. I'll show you what I mean in a second here. And as you can see, this thing right here, it's not going all the way together because I have a picture that's gonna go right there. So I want this side to stick out on the other side of the picture. So I am going to just place these in approximately where they're going. And you'll see I kind of do it a couple times here to fill that gap. You do have plenty of paper that you don't need to do that. If you need to cut another strip of paper from these papers, you have plenty left over. So if you don't have the same pictures, or if you're not gonna put a picture right here, don't worry, just cut another little strip of paper and use it there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put an ever so slight amount of adhesive on some of these. And I'm gonna kind of overlap these just a little. And let's see, I've got one photo that's gonna go right here. And this photo is gonna go up here. So first I'm going to, however you can do it, you're gonna start adhering things together. So I know that I want those two pictures to go like this. And now I can add a little adhesive to these parts. I know this is not like the typical, easy, normal way that you might make a page, but this is how we have to do this one. Because there's so many layers, but I also want to do so many background things with the stencils. Oops. And this is just way easier to move around these big groupings that are already adhered together than trying to move around like 11 pictures on 12 little pieces of paper. So I'm gonna make sure that all the glue is not showing on the back here so this doesn't stick. And that is gonna go right there. And then, as you can see, I'm making this photo overlap onto the second page, so I'm gonna go ahead and trim the edge off of this photo right here because it's gonna stick onto this side because it spans the gap. If you do not like doing that, then make this photo end on the other page. Like, don't make the photo span the gap. Oop, my photo wasn't adhered here. My faux photo. Okay. And then on this side, so I'm gonna line it up just like this, because that's about where it's gonna sit. And now I know that I've got this is gonna be a little bit shorter. So I am gonna need to trim off this little piece. Let's see here. Because I want it to be staggered looking on the layout. And I've got a tiny 3x3 photo here. This is this other piece here. So I think I can go ahead and adhere these little banner pieces together. This is kind of difficult to do like this. So if you don't want to be trying to piecing these things on the way that I'm doing it, you might want to just skip ahead in the video to the part where I am adding the mixed media, and then come back, and then you can just adhere these straight to the layout. It's up to you which way seems like you would like to do it better. I just really would rather be doing this so I can pick up big chunks instead of picking up all these papers and all these pictures. But it is completely up to you. So that's another option of how you can do this. The mixed media that we're gonna put on here too, like I said, if you're nervous to paint, or you don't like to paint with stencils, or you don't want to do the stencil work, you can, what is happening here? Hold on, sorry. I can't talk and concentrate at the same time, apparently. If you don't want to do the stencil work and you would rather fussy cut that paper with the leaves on it, then that is for sure an option for you too. So let me just get these last couple pictures on this side. And then, there, so that will sit like that. This will sit like this. And then I can work on this little thing. I'm doing this all on camera, so it's a lot easier to understand than just trying to look at pictures. So unfortunately, I'm not going to turn the camera off right now to finish this. I'm just gonna leave it on. So if you're not doing this, you might wanna just fast forward a little. But I really think it's easier to watch me do this than to read about me doing this on the written instructions. And this is the last little one, right about there. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in and put these photos down where they go on this piece that I've got happening here. Oop, that's all the way butted up to the end of the layout. Yeah, I really liked doing this. I think I did the wrong thing, that's okay. I really liked doing this layout this way with all of these pictures, because I was really happy to be able to fit a lot of pictures on my layout. And we all know we have lots of pictures. One thing I try to do when I'm printing photos, if I have a ton of pictures that I want to fit on, is I print them as 3x4s, as you can see here. So I could have never fit 11 4x6 photos on this layout. It would have been way too cluttered for my liking. So I printed them as 3x4s. Okay, so we've got everything laid out, and now it's just easy chunks for me to pick up. Next thing that we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a pencil, I'm gonna mark some corners here, because I wanna add some stencil work right around here, but I don't need to add it like underneath where all this is. I just need the stencil work to poke out over there. So I'm gonna do a little line there. I'm gonna do a little line right here. And those lines are hidden underneath, you know, but this is reminding me that's as low as I need to go with the stencil work. I don't need to keep on going down here. And then I'm gonna also do a little stencil work under this area. Okay, so when I take this off, I can see I want to stencil there, I want to stencil here, and I want to stencil here. And then on this side, I want to do a little tiny stencil work right there. I want to do a little more extensive stencil work in this area. Okay, in there and down there. And then down here, and this is why we left these intact. And also now when I go lay everything back down, it will be in the exact same place, like it won't shift because this is all adhered together. Okay. Oh, that draw. Okay, now to do the stencil work, I am going to use the inklings that came in your kit because that's why we put them in the kit. They're the perfect shade and they're in here. If you would prefer using blending tool and ink with the stencil, because it's very easy to blend the blending tool and ink on a stencil. This is a little more complex. I'll show you why in a minute. But you can use your own inks and a blending tool with this stencil to do the same thing that I'm gonna show you with these watercolors. So right now, these are dry, and I'm going to go add just a little water in them. I would say maybe a half a teaspoon. I'm not really gonna measure it, but not like, don't fill them up with water because we're gonna want this paint to be not very watery at all. We want it to be fairly thick when we're putting it on with the paintbrush so that it doesn't run underneath the stencil. If it's really watery, it will run underneath the edges of the stencil. So let me go put a little water in these. And then when we get water in them, they are gonna need to sit for a few minutes to soak in the water. So the water gets the pigment and starts, you know, dissolving the pigment a little. So in that meantime, if I was you, I think I would take a scratch piece of paper and practice this. I practiced on a scratch piece of paper before I ever made and designed this layout, and I would highly suggest trying a little on a scratch piece of paper first. But since I already have done this technique and I know what I'm doing, I'm just gonna straight out start painting. And I'm gonna show you a couple little spotches areas, and then I'm gonna go off camera to do the rest because this kind of takes a while. I'm gonna start with this center little leaf right here. We'll start with an easy one. And I am going to use the light green first. I use the light green first most of the time when I was making this layout because it's easy to paint everything the light green and then go in with the dark green to add a few details. And this is way too liquidy. So I'm gonna dump some of it in the lid. So now I just have a little water in here. I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Okay guys, see very, very little bit of water, not much at all. And I'm gonna take my brush and I'm gonna get a scratch piece of paper. And I'm gonna use it to kind of blot off my brush because I really don't want this watery. It's still a lot watery because it will seep underneath the stencil. And then I'm gonna come in here and I'm kind of just tapping it on the stencil, even though it's not a stencil brush, it's a watercolor brush, because I don't want to drag my brush underneath the stencil and have it bleed everywhere. And so I'm gonna keep that brush real dry and I'm gonna come back in with the dark color just around and just kind of tap it around. And I lift it up and you've got a little leaf. I still made that one a little watery. So you also might want a napkin here so you can dry off your stencil in between setting it back down. Let's try a different leaf. We're gonna do this big one right here. And I'm gonna flip it upside down so it's not sitting on top of this. I'm just gonna flip it to get it out of the way a little. And this big one I'm gonna put right here. And again, I'm gonna start with the light green and just tapping it. And really not wet. This is almost still a little bit too wet that I'm using right here. I think I'm gonna dump this water all the way out in the lid. But I'm gonna leave the lid there because eventually it's gonna get too dry and I'm gonna need it. I can already see that this is going under, so it's okay if it goes under because these are leaves, safari looking, like it doesn't need to be perfect. And it's a watercolory look. So I know it's not a clean, perfect stencil look, but that's the look that I'm going for. Like, it's very organic looking. Okay, when this dries, I'm gonna come in and do a big giant leaf right here. But for now, I'm gonna come down here because it won't overlap, and I'm gonna do a big giant leaf down here. And again, this one does need a little bit more water because it's such a big area in the middle. But you can tell, like, you barely need to dot it in the water and gets it nice. And I probably could use a little bit of a bigger brush over here, but I'm fine working with this little brush. And I'm coloring it all the light green first. And I'm not even bothering rinsing out my brush between dipping it in the colors, because I kind of want that mottled look of, you know, part of it light, part of it dark, mixing together. It's fine. I'm gonna put a little water on there. And then just come in the edges a little to add the dark. And then when I lift that one up, you can see it looks basically like we watercolored a leaf instead of like we stenciled a leaf. And that is the look that I was going for. Okay. We can add more branches here. The 3 branches that I used on this whole thing, I just used this big one that I used down here, this one in the corner that I used up here, and this one in the middle right here. I didn't use these other 3 shapes, although you can. I just chose not to. And I'm gonna continue working and fill in. I'm just gonna put 1 big leaf here. I'm not gonna add any more to this spot. I'm gonna add 1 of each over here. So all 3 leaves that I showed you, and 1 of each over here, all 3 down here. And that's good for the left side. So I'm gonna go off camera and finish the left side, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what I did on the right side. Alrighty guys, so that's what this looks like this, without anything on it. We're gonna let this dry off to the side, and then we're gonna move on to the right-hand side of our layout. And on the right-hand side of our layout, we're gonna do the same technique. I'm gonna put this one, all three leaves over here, but I'm gonna put a second small one. So I'm gonna put 2 of these small ones, the medium one and the large one up here. And down here, I'm gonna do the same thing, 2 small ones, a large one, and the medium one. And then down here, I'm gonna use the medium one and the small one, and then the large one and the medium one. So I'm gonna do this side the same way that I did the last side, and I'm gonna do this again off camera because it's very long to watch, and I will come back. Also, if you wanna do a little variety to this so that not every single leaf is both colors and like totally blending into each other, I did pick a couple that I only made 1 color. So like a couple of the smaller leaves on this page, I made just either light green or dark green instead of melding the 2 together like that. So you can do that too, just for a little variety so that everything isn't just one big melded color blob, and you could tell the difference between the leaves then. So yeah, you can do some that are just 1 solid color. Although I really like the look of mixing the colors, especially on this bigger leaf. It looks really good when you mix the colors together. Otherwise it's just pretty plain green. So yeah, I will go work a little bit more on this, and I will be back because this takes quite a while. Okay guys, so you can see that I got these little clusters of leaves, and like I said, uh-oh, I just spilled. Like I said, if you wanted to not paint with your stencils, you could use ink with the stencils, just like, or paste or something with the stencils instead. Or you could go ahead and fussy cut leaves from this sheet of paper and place them in these little areas. Even if you do this, you can still fussy cut a few leaves here and there and place them in here. I just did not do that, but you completely can do that. And then we're gonna come in and we're gonna put our photo blocks that we made down. This is why it was so easy to, well, it wasn't easy putting these together, but it's so much easier to adhere it all to the page when these are all, like that work we did at the beginning of getting these clusters adhered together was worth it at this point right here. In the end, it was totally worth it. So we're just going to, adhere this down, and then we'll adhere this big block down, and the hard work is already done of getting everything laid out or trying to get it back in place again. And you kind of have pencil marks on your layout showing you exactly where to put this. And these should fit nicely into each other, that little space there. And then we'll go to this page. This one is going to be easy to place down because it's just, you know, a continuation of that. So I'll adhere this one down. Make sure it's lined up correctly. And then just pop that one in there. Okay, and then this one is going to go here. And again, you can see that there's a nice little gap right there for it to just slide right into. And guys, this was the hardest part of this layout. It's over. And the rest of it comes together real quick. Let me show you. Let me show you here. Oh, that wasn't quite all the way dry. So the rest of it just involves the sticker sheet, wherever that may be. And what I did is I just came through and I just started putting stickers. Let's do this side first. I did use foam tape for quite a few of these stickers because I wanted to give a little dimension to different things now because we've got this amazing background and I just want to add a little dimension here. So this one goes right about there with this little alligator overlapping it. And then this word happy can underlap right there. Okay, and then here's my scissors. I'm just gonna cut one of these squares in half because I'm gonna put Wild Ride on here. And again, you don't need to use the stickers that I am using. My photos on my layout are, they are from Disney World. They're from Animal Kingdom. We were waiting in line for the safari ride. So of course, I thought this would be cute. We'd never been to Disney World before. We went this summer and I liked all the details. You know how Disney is. They put details in everything, details in the lines. It looks like you're really going on a safari, so I wanted to document that. So all of my pictures are different, and there was also a lot of us. We went with my whole family. My one sister lives out there. So there was a lot of us. So there was a lot of pictures of us in line. And that's why I have so many pictures on this layout. But I could have documented a trip to the zoo. I could have documented like a real safari. If you went on a real safari, I could document kids playing because, you know, they're wild adventures. Just kids playing. It doesn't have any, it could, maybe your pictures might not have anything to do with animals at all. This kit is really, even though it's wild animals, it's very versatile and very masculine, good for little boys and little girls, but it's not, you know, a bunch of flowers. That is very feminine. And I just put this whole word adventure right here across the bottom. Yeah, you could document all kinds of different things with this. If you, maybe your kiddo's room is decorated with animals like this. You could document their bedroom decor, or a baby's room, or a birthday party, or a baby shower. Maybe you had a safari themed baby shower. So yeah, there's all kinds of things besides just a trip to the zoo that you could use with these this page kit. But speaking of Disney, we have a really amazing thing coming up in September, and I am going to tell you about it right now. It's a secret, but now you know. We're having, if you're into Disney, you might want to check out in September our releases. We're having a mega Disney kit with a Facebook group. I'm gonna put together at least 5 double page and 5 single page layouts with it and give you all the instructions and videos, but it's not gonna be on YouTube. It's gonna be in a private Facebook group. You can either, we're gonna have the kit for sale. We're gonna have it, if you don't wanna buy the kit because maybe you already have tons of Disney supplies, you could just buy the class and be in the Facebook group for all the discussion and videos and sharing. But that's coming up in September. I wanted to get you guys excited about that because I'm using Disney pictures here. But anyways, enough about that. Yeah, I think I got everything on here, guys. We have our regular Not Just for Boys Kit Club community Facebook group where you can go and join us, and you can share your picture or your layouts that you made using this kit, whether or not you followed my instructions, doesn't matter. We would love to see anything that you make with any of our kits. And we have monthly challenges over there. Our design team uses this kit, and they'll make their own unique layouts using this kit. They will not follow my instructions, but they'll share all their layouts. If you have little splatters, it's because I was in a hurry today and I was not drying off my stencil correctly in between, so I've got little splatters. I could either put more stencil work over here to cover it up, or I could put some splatters on my page around in any color that matches this layout or the green and just make it kind of blend in. Because yeah, I've got, as you can see, I got a little carried away on this side. But thanks for watching, guys. And I'm gonna put still pictures at the end of this layout. There's also pictures in the listing of this layout on our website. The link is in the description below, and we'll see you later. Bye.